Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Photoshop seminar. And today's seminar is workshop Photoshop Fundamental Portrait Retouching. I'm glad you guys are here. You're welcome to participate. You're welcome to ask questions. And you're all welcome also to use your own file that I sent you before, including this PDF. So in general, what we're going to do today, we are going to talk a little bit about the tools, Wacom tablet, and how to mark your image and set up your plan. We're going to talk about Photoshop tools, clone, stamp tool, healing, content aware, brushes, and then special techniques like smoothing skin, adding texture, and better frequency separation. Then we're going to go in and enhance some detail. We're going to look at kind of new Photoshop selection tools that we have in Photoshop 2022. And then we're going to open it for Q&A. And if you are using your own files, that's awesome. I can walk around and help you. We can take a break in between. Let's just have it like a conversation together. I also prepared this PDF, and you can see here something like before and after, and then you see the marking. And then if we have time, we're going to look at project-based retouching, and we're going to go in and just create something, and together we'll get it into an environment. So actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you some tools, but you can use this tool with your own files as well. So you don't have to follow me all the way. You can follow me all the way. It's really kind of up to you. And like I said before, you can ask questions and let me know if it is too fast, too slow, or you want to see something else. So with that said, anybody has any questions? Thank you. Okay, thank you. I know you're happy to be here, so I can see you guys are saying hi to me and doing kind of like the finger up. We all used to be in Zoom and now we're in person. So people are still kind of quiet and giving me the thumbs up, which is fine. I'm good to go, and you can give me the thumbs up and we can go and continue. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go in and fire up Photoshop. And this is Photoshop 2022, but I'm also using the Wacom tablet, so you're welcome to come over and see what I'm doing. I have the pen. I'm using Intuos. I think, let me just look at this. Okay, the latest Intuos Pro. It is the small one. You're welcome in the break to come and look at it. I think it's around, I don't know, I don't remember, like $300 or less. I think you have it also here in the computer store. Really recommend to use it because it is pressure sensitive, and when you look, especially when you're retouching, when you're using brushes and all kind of stuff like that, it's really help you. Yes, and yeah, that's the pen. So you can see here the pen, and yeah, that's the pen that I have, and now we're gonna start. So I'm gonna go to the home screen for a second, and you can see here images that I used before. Not necessarily these images that I used were done in Photoshop. Some of them were done actually in Photoshop on the iPad. Some of them were done with Adobe Fresco. And I really like to one day be able to feature a seminar with Adobe Fresco and Adobe Photoshop on the iPad and Illustrator iPad to kind of show you the workflow. But for now, I'm just going to go in and open an image, and we're going to look at some retouching tools that we have. So I'm going to go into File and Open. And I did prepare the files over here, and by the way, these are the files that you got via link, so you more or less have all the images kind of with you. I have Puppet Warp here, I am Retouching Project, Smart Filter and Smart Object, and then images to retouch over here. So if I'm going to click on that, I'm going to look at the stuff, and you can see something that says before and after. I'm just going to look at the before first. And let's look at this portrait. So this portrait was done by a professional photographer that did a headshot for this actress. She looks pretty cool. Things are there, but she sent me a message and she said, well, these are things that I don't really like. Don't like the area around with the kind of like bulgy look next to the arm. Maybe I have some flyaway hair I don't like. Maybe I have some stuff around the eyes that I don't like. So let's see what we can do with that. So I'm going to go back to File and Open, and then let's go into the after. I'm going to go back to the after and let's look at that. So it does look a lot better. The background's still the same. We might even change the background today. That's going to be fun. So what do I have here? And let's just check it out. So I'm going to turn it on here, and this is the image, and this is my markup. So basically, based on the request of the actor, I got the markup. That's going to be your request for your own kind of portrait that you're going to do for yourself. And I think we're going to offer in the future some kind of photography over here. So we're going to take picture of you guys, and then you can later on retouch your own images as well. So what I have over here, I'm going to go back here, and I have the area that retouched here. In this case, I didn't even say which project I used over here. And then I have Gaussian blur, and then I have the blur around here, and I'm going to Command or Control click depending how you're using, just to see the mask over here. And then if I hold on the Option key, you can see what I did. So let's go in step by step and see what happened and which kind of tool I used. And by the way, you can see here in the files that I had, I do have files that I call it Content Aware and Healing Tools and all that. So these are the files that you can go and practice based on the PDF that I have for you. But now we're going to just work with this image and pretend this is your portrait right now. And now we are going to go in and change it. So I'm going to go back here to Before. I'm going to click and close out the After. I don't need that. And I'm going to look at the Before. So one of the things that you want to do over here, I do have the markup. I'm going to leave it here a little bit, but I might go in and make it a little lighter for now, and then start looking at the stuff that I want to do, because I might turn it on and off as I go. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to double click on layer 0, and I'm going to call it Original Image. The second thing that I want to do is just duplicate the original. Why do I want to duplicate the original? The reason I want to duplicate the original is because I don't want to hurt the original and I want to work on the copy. So Command or Control J, depending what you guys are using. I see some of you using Mac, some of you are using Windows. So for Mac is Command J, and for Windows it's Control J. I duplicated that, and I'm going to go and call it Retouch. Retouch copy. I might even go to the original and turn it off. I don't want to touch it. I might even go to it and lock it completely and be here. And now, just to make sure, if you guys are following me, let's do File, Save As. And we're going to go save on your computer. And I'm going to go in to the desktop, and I'm going to call it Portrait Retouching. And click here and save. And then compatibility, it's all good. I said don't show it to me again, and I'm good to go. So I saved it, so nothing is going to be on my way in case we are crashed. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to look at some kind of dots and areas that we have here that I first want to do. So I'm going to turn off the markup, or maybe have it somewhere, and I'm going to go on top of the retouch copy, and I'm gonna open a new layer, and I'm gonna call it spots. In parentheses, I actually gonna call it spot healing brush. So if you guys rewatch the video again after the class, you know which tool I use, because we're kind of playing with something, so I want you to make sure that you are knowing exactly which tool I'm using. So I'm going to click OK. The layer is empty, and I'm going to click on the letter J, and that will go to the J gallery. That's how I call it, because over here I have the spot healing brush tool, the healing brush, the patch tool, content aware, and red eye tool. So I will start here with spot healing brush. Want to make sure everybody finds the spot healing brush. Just click on the letter J. Yes, perfect. Click on the letter J and you'll find it, and that's the first one that has a tiny little circle around it, and it's the spot healing brush tool. Now, while I'm doing it, you'll see me doing Command or Control S. I'm doing Command S. I'm resaving it because I don't really want to crush, so I'm resaving it as I go. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to look at my spot healing brush. And by default, it is the size of the brush is 19. I'm going to click here, and what I can do all the way up at the brush preset, I can change the size of the brush. I can also change the hardness of the brush. So if you see here, if it's all the way 100%, means that the soft edges of the brush are, the edges of the brush, actually, it's not soft anymore, it's hard edges. And if I go in to the other side and it is 0, the brush is really soft. Also, you can see here that I have pen pressure. And why do I have pen pressure on? Because I do use the Wacom tablet, so I can take advantage of the pressure sensitivity of that. So I'm just going to go and find kind of a sweet spot in between, maybe not so hard edges and not so soft edges. But one thing you have to take into consideration, because while I'm drawing, I might need to change the size of the brush. So I can go to my brackets on my keyboard, the one next to the letter P, and the right bracket's going to make the same brush that I just did higher, and the left bracket's going to make it smaller. Higher, bigger, smaller. Yeah, try that. So I use that all the time. Once I know which brush I'm using, I can do that. So I'm going to turn off the markup. And now I am on an empty layer. And I want to go in and kind of go to the spot and click on the spot and eliminate it. Because this brush goes, and this spot healing brush will go to a spot, will heal it, and find a way to find the color below that and make it kind of like together so you don't see the spot anymore. But you can see while I'm doing it, nothing is really happening. And why not? Because I am on an empty layer. So there's nothing for me to do here. But if I am going to my options all the way up, and remember we said in some other classes that you guys took and in other seminars that when you're using any tool in Photoshop, it's so important to look at the option bar all the way up and see what is the tool telling us. So what does it mean? This tool is telling us a story. The size, the normal mode, I can do it in different mode. I can do it in a screen mode. I can do it in a lighten mode if I want to bring some kind of texture back, or I can start with the normal mode. I also go back here and you see an area that says sample all layers. So if you open an empty layer, make sure you click on sample all layers. So it's basically what it's doing, it's sampling stuff from the layer below and do the healing to the layer on top. So really great. So now I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to look at this area, and I see a little dot here, and I'm going to click. And you can see it's gone. And I'm going to see another one. And you see if I click hard, because I use the pen tool, it is pressure sensitive, so I can take advantage on the pressure sensitivity for the size. But I'm really going to be really careful here with this kind of tool, not to go to areas that you do have kind of abrupt coloring change, like this one next to the eyebrow. Do you see what happened here? Yeah, it's a smear. Command or Control Z, undo it. I don't want to see that. And also what I do when I use retouching, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my history panel, and I'm going to go to the flyout menu and say history option, allow nonlinear history on, and every now and then I will go in. When I finish something, I might take a snapshot, so I get a position of my retouching already to a snapshot. I can't change anything yet, so I'm not doing it yet, but I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go to another one there, and I'm just going to go next to her nose. I can see she has some kind of a marking, and I might even go in and try to change a different blending mode. And if I do some kind of a lighten mode, maybe I can go in and not take away some of the textures that I have over here. And then I'm going to go in and, let's say, if I do a screen mode, it's going to look a little bit different. And if you do a normal mode, basically what it does, it will just go in and eliminate the area. So I can go back and forth and just play with the stuff that I have, and then see if I do have other dots. And I'm going to click here and look at the dots here, and I have another one over here. I have a little guy here, and I have a little one here. And let's see what else I have, and I'm going to be very careful when I get to the edges. And by the way, when you do a portrait retouching, you see me very careful doing some stuff. You don't have to retouch everything completely, that she's gonna look all of a sudden like a porcelain doll. And why is that? Because the person is going to go in and audition for something, and you don't want to come in and hand out, or maybe a job interview in your case, you don't want to hand out like the portrait and they say, who's that? Oh, it's you. It doesn't really look like you. So you kind of wanted to make it kind of logical a little bit. And while I'm doing it, I'm going to go and see if I missed something. And then I'm just going to go back here and look at that. Kind of like more of the dots are kind of okay for me. And maybe I'm going to look and do a little bit more over here. And then I'm saving. I'm going to zoom out, see if you guys have any question and you're able to follow me. And if you have any question, I'll be happy to help you and come over. But I see you guys are doing pretty well, so that's good. You're smiling. As long as you guys are smiling, I'm good to go. But I'm going to go to my history panel, and now I'm going to take a snapshot. And then I'm going to have, oh, I took two of them by mistake. I took the first snapshot, and I'm going to call it Spot Healing Brush. And why did I take that? Because I want to tell you, oops, not so good. Okay, it is. I'm going to oopsie a lot today probably, because I'm moving around a little bit too fast. But what am I doing here? I do have 50 history version in my, I think it's in my preferences. If I go to Command K, I see my preferences, and I'm going to go in to my history, and I have 50 history states. And I'm going to leave it like this. I didn't change. So what you're going to see is healing, 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 healing brush. But when I'm exhausting the 50, it's going to go away, and another 50 is going to come in. So once I exhaust it, I still going to have the healing spot over here, and I still going to have my beginning and the end. So this is the beginning, and this one is this stage. So every now and then I will go in and take a snapshot for myself. So that's what I have here. I'm going to let the history pattern go to the parking lot, and I'm going to save. So the next thing that I want to do, I want to go in and change some more stuff. I want to change some kind of areas around her forehead. She has a little bit more wrinkles. Maybe I want to take away. I do like the wrinkles around her smile because it's kind of beautiful, but I'm going to go in and play with that a little bit. So I'm going to go into the layer, and I'm going to add a new layer. And then I'm going to call it more wrinkles. Did I spell it okay? Maybe not. And then parentheses, I'm going to write, more wrinkles. And parentheses, I'm going to write healing brush. Yes. And click OK. And why am I adding the name of the file that I have? Because, and I can see I have the wrinkles with a spelling mistake. I really need to kind of wrinkles. I need to learn how to type. And I'm going to save that because I want, if you go over the video later, you're going to see which tool I used. So I'm going to go back to the healing brush tool. So this tool is kind of, I call it the older brother or sister of the spot healing. It will work kind of more or less the same. You can work to an empty layer, but you will go in and refine bigger areas, and this tool is asking for something else. So I'm zooming in, and I'm gonna go and I want to kind of get rid of these wrinkles in the forehead and maybe some kind of other areas that I want to kind of change a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I want to go in, and I can see the original brush again is 19. Again, I can make it a little bit bigger, find the sweet spot for me. And now if I'm going to go and click on it, it will tell me option click, and if you guys are using Windows, it is going to say alt click to define a source point to be used to repair the image. Awesome. So I'm going to click OK. And now I want to go in and option click on an area, and I want to go in and change kind of like the wrinkles. You see, once again, nothing is changing. So once again, you need to see your option bar. And over here you can see current layer in below. If I just wanted to relate the spot healing layer or all layers, because I want to go into the retouch copy as well. So now option click in a nice area, and I'm going to go back here and start healing this area. But you see right now I option clicked in a certain area, and the sample stayed in the same place, because all the way up on my option bar it says none aligned. It's turned off. So if you option click on the source, it will stay on the source, and if you go to start healing the area, you can see that it's going to start healing the area based off your clicking. You can click aligned and then option click over here, and then when you click aligned, you can see that the source is basically following me. So yeah, you're gonna ask me, I know, I see you have your hand. Yes, you ask what would I use. I would actually I keep option clicking. And why is that? Because I don't trust that, because it's different colors. So I'm going to option click, and you see I'm option clicking. I can even turn that off. Option click, option click. And I can go into different areas and kind of changing some stuff. I'm going to be a little careful around the hair, because you can see this area is a little darker. So I might go to some area there, or I might even leave it alone for now. And then I'm going to go into this area here, and I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger. I'm going to option click and option click, and then option click, just to go in and create some kind of nice area around here. And I'm gonna go in and click on that and see what I'm doing. So let's say I want to go in and create some stuff around, I call it the dangerous area. So what does it mean? I'm gonna go in and have an area around her eyebrows. So I kind of don't want to start changing some stuff there. So I might go in and go to the Lasso tool and just select an area around. I might even go to select, modify, and feather. And then I don't know how much feathering exactly to do, because you can see that I don't have a preview. But if I want to feather it a little bit more and see it, I'm going to cancel that, and I'm going to go to select and mask, and I'm going to go to black and white. Over here I can see a preview on the feathering, so I can see how my edges are going to be. And I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to go back here. I don't know why is it doing this one here, and I'm going to zoom out here. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my spot, to my healing brush tool, option click from area here, and then go to the area that I want to change. And you can see that it doesn't touch the other area, that it is darker. So if I deselect, I get a nice smooth transition over here. And I can do it everywhere with this kind of technique. But now I'm going to go option click and change here, and see if I can change stuff around their eyes, just to make it a little bit better. I don't know if I want to do so many changes. Maybe a little bit here. As I said before, I kind of want to show the area that you have the smile, because it's kind of cool. And then see if I like it. I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to see before and after, and you can start seeing some changes. While I have it here, jumping over new snapshot, and then I'm going to call it healing brush. Again, I could have done a lot more stuff here, and actually maybe I should have done this one. Over here, and option click, and I can do another. But it's all good, and I like what I have. Oh, I see something that I don't like so much. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I can see there's some kind of an area here that doesn't look so cool. But I might go in and change that with a different tool. And again, something I'm going to do more or less, and you'll see in a minute. We'll do other techniques with it. So I'm saving. Now I'm gonna go in, and maybe I should do another snapshot. And then I'm gonna go back here and I say, what is it? Healing brush tool. And you see here it says full document, merge layer, or current layer. So I'm gonna do it for the entire document, and I'm saving. Now I'm gonna zoom out, and then I wanna go and use another tool. So I'm gonna go to my layers panel. Yeah, I'm waiting for you guys to give me the okay. That's all good. Just save your file and let's just continue. And if we have other questions, of course we can address them as soon as we can. So what am I going to do now? What I'm going to do now is go in, and on top of the wrinkles I'm gonna go in and say new layer, and I'm gonna say clone. So with the clone tool, as opposed to the healing tools that you have, you're actually cloning an area and fixing it. So if I see area that I have to reconstruct, I can use the clone tool, and on top of that maybe I can heal it a little bit. So I'm gonna go again to my clone tool. And then the clone tool again, the default is 21, the other one was 19. I'm gonna make the brush a little bit bigger. I'm gonna get the hardness depending how, maybe somewhere in between. And I wanna make sure that it is not current layer, it is current layer and below, and all layers, because I want the clone to take stuff from the area below. So I'm gonna zoom in. And I kind of want to just clone the area here and make it a little bit better. So what am I going to do? Option click or alt click, and look what I'm doing. I'm kind of reconstructing. So when you're doing some reconstructing, I basically can go into the area of her eyebrows and reconstruct the area of the eyebrows, or go out and change it completely. I can even go back here, option click, and I'm gonna go into this area, and I'm gonna start kind of, okay, I don't want to do that. See, I'm very careful here, because if I'm in the wrong area, it is going to go in and do the wrong thing for me. And if I messed it up a little bit, that's okay as well, because even if I mess it up and I make something that looks like this, way too big right now, what I can do is go to the clone and create a layer mask, go to a regular brush, and then make the brush maybe softer, and then if I go to black, I can go back here and basically conceal my mistake. So you can see here I'm going to conceal the mistake that I have, and now you can see that I don't have this mess that I just created. I'm going to go back and option click, and this time I'm going to try to not create a mess. So you can see here I just created and extended a little bit of her eyebrows. Once I extended the eyebrows, what I can do over here, I can actually go to my healing brush tool and then option click, and then kind of heal it a little bit. And then you can see that it's going to bring some kind of the texture back to me. If I don't like some stuff that I did, I'm gonna check it out on and off. So I can see that this area, that's the one that I don't want to see maybe. So I might do another clone, more clone. and then go to the clone tool and option click, and then just take it away. And then I'm gonna go back to this one and see, did I take away too much? Yes, I did. So I can go to the area that I took away too much and see what did I take away. I can even go to my eraser tool and just take it away here. So you can see I don't like to use my stuff here like that, but you can see here I can go back here, and then I can go in and bring back the area that you have. And I can create some kind, I don't like it actually, I didn't do a good job. I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. And then maybe add another one, and I'm gonna call it clone 2. And you can see here, if I don't like something, that's okay. I'm gonna delete it and see if I can create something a little bit different. So I might do option click and just do that. That's not good because that is not the clone tool, but I'm gonna do option click and just do that. And then see if that's gonna look a little bit better. And then on that I can say option click and then make the brush a little smaller and kind of heal that. And now it looks way better than before. So you can see I can go back and forth and change the stuff. She looks a lot better right now. I'm gonna be on and off. Let's see what else I can do over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm gonna go on the Retouch Coffee, and I wanna change, she has a little white hair over here, and I kind of do not want to mess it up completely, but I'm gonna use the dodge or burn tools. So I'm gonna use a different technique. I'm gonna go into a new layer, and I'm gonna call it lighten and darken. Yes, okay. If you have any question, I'll come over, yes. And then I'm gonna go in and explain to you. So I'll stop for a minute talking, and I'm gonna go over to you and explain, and then I'll go back to my recording. Great, now I'm back. Thank you for asking this question. I went to help you. You guys didn't see it because I'm just recording my screen. But when I stopped for a minute, you know that I went to help some of the students. So I'm gonna go back here, and you see I did lighten and darken, and it didn't do anything. So I'm gonna delete that, and I'm gonna do it again. New layer, I'm gonna call it lighten, darken. And then I'm gonna change the mode here to either overlay or soft light. And I'm gonna click with fill with overlay neutral color 50% gray. So if you forget to do it when you open a new layer, you can actually fill the new layer with 50% gray, which is available under the fill menu bar, and then change the blending mode to overlay or soft light. So it's the same idea. So you can see over here, I do have a gray layer, 50% gray overlay mode. If I do it into a normal mode, this is what you have, and this is the other stuff that I have here. So I'm gonna go back to overlay and saving. And I am going to go to my dodge and burn tools. So if you click on the letter O on your keyboard, you can see dodge tool and burn tool. So I'm gonna go to the dodge tool, and now the dodge is gonna make everything lighter, and the burn is gonna be everything darker. So if I wanted to go in and make her eyes a little lighter, I'm just gonna click on it, and you can see in the midtones over here, I can even change the exposure. I'm just gonna leave the exposure over here. If I wanted the eyebrows to be a little lighter, I can do that. But I like that like this. You can see here our eyes are a little lighter over here. more light into the area. But now I'm going to go into the burn tool, and I'm going to go in on the area that she has some kind of white hair, and I'm going to try to make it a little darker. It might not take all the white hair, but it might kind of go in and emphasize a darkness over here a little bit. And then I'm going to go back here, and you can see in a minute that the hair is a little darker at the edges. If I'm going to zoom out, and you can see the before and after, you can see the changes. So yes, if I did want to go into her lips and made that a little lighter, I could have done something like this and kind of make the lips not as red. If I wanted, it will leave for me also the texture, so I might even have some kind of highlight around the area. So you can see, kind of looks a lot kind of nicer that I have here. And then I can go and do on and off, on and off. Kind of looking good. I kind of like that. I'm gonna go in and create a snapshot, new snapshot, and I'm gonna call it lighten and darken. So now I have that, and I'm gonna save. So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit, and we're gonna do a before and after in a minute, but let's see what else we can do over here. So in real life, a lot of time I will go in and add some kind of a smart object and then change and bring a filter, but I want to show you something absolutely new that you have now in Photoshop 2022. So I might go into the retouch, the lighten, all this area over here, and then without the markup, and I'm gonna go and make that into a smart object. And then I'm gonna call that retouch. And then maybe I wanted to make this skin altogether a lot softer now. So I'm gonna go to filter and neural filters. And let's hope that we don't crash. This is a filter that goes to the cloud. It takes a lot of memory, but we're gonna go into skin smoothing, and I'm gonna click, and then while I have it over here, I'm just gonna go in and smooth her skin a little bit. And I'm gonna look at here, and I'm gonna zoom in and look how beautiful the skin is now. Absolutely looks nice and smooth and beautiful. If I wanted more, or if I wanted more or less, depending how I wanted to do it, I'm gonna go and click OK. And then I'm gonna go bring it out a little bit. So now it's smoothed everything. So if I don't want, let's say, the eyes to be a little too blurry, I might go into a regular brush, and I can go to black and kind of cover a little bit the blurriness, so the eyes are a lot sharper. So if you're looking and holding down the Option or Alt key, this is what I did. I blocked the filter, on, off, and you can see now that it is not actually on just the eyes. I made the eyes look kind of like a nice way. So if before having this filter, you could have used some kind of the blur tool and then go in and the adjustment and change it as well, and it's all good. So what else do I want to do now? I'm saving. Now I want to start going to this area, which is going to be a lot harder for me to do, because I might need to go in and push stuff in and click on it, and maybe even go into another area and then just it's kind of like not sure I know what to do to start with. So I'm going to duplicate the retouch, Command or Control J. And on the retouch over here, I don't need another neural filter there. So I'm going to go in and take away the neural filter. And then I'm just going to go in. Actually, I have the neural filter on top of it. But if I take away the neural filter, it's not going to be good. So I'm going to leave it actually. And what am I going to do now? I could have done it to the same layer. I am going to go in to filter, and I'm going to go to Liquify. And now I can do stuff to her face with Liquify, but also I can go into this area over here, and I'm going to try to fix some stuff. So I'm not going to do the face yet, but I'm going to go to a brush all the way to the left. I'm going to go into a brush over here, and I'm going to go into freeze mask. So I'm just going to go to an area that I don't want it maybe to do a lot of stuff to it. So I'm covering some stuff. And again, it is a little harder, so I'm not sure everything's going to be okay, but I'm trying. And I'm going to go to the left side and forward warp. Yes, you do have to do it as a smart filter. Great question. Why? Because there is a reverse engineering when you have a smart filter, so I can go backwards and change stuff. So now I can go back here and start pushing it. And then I can start pushing. And start pushing. And I know it doesn't look good yet, but I might go back here and see what's going on there, and then I can go into the preview, before and after, and I'm going to click OK. And let me check out and see what I did. I started to do something, but it's not really cool all the way, so I am going to go in and add some stuff over here and change what I did over here. So one of the things that I can do, I can also double click over here and go back to Liquify. And it takes time. I actually should have saved that. And I'm going to save it just in case, and I'm going to zoom. Oops, I knew I saved it. And I go back here, and now I'm going to zoom in. And then I can go back to the area and I can reconstruct some stuff. And I don't want to reconstruct, so that was kind of a mistake. Command or Control Z. I might go back to my mask, and I'm going to freeze this area here. And I'm going to freeze this area here. And maybe some of this. And then depending how much I want to do, the size, and maybe the pressure that I have, I can go back here and push it in. And push this one in. And this one is okay, because I might even go into a mask later and change. And I can go back here and take the mask away. So more or less I can see what I have here, and I can see that I have some kind of an area, and I might move some of the dress a little bit over, so it's going to look a little bit better. So I'm going to click OK. I'm not crazy about the area that I have over here, so now what I can do is I can go on top of that and I can use my clone. And then I'm going to go into layer and below, because I have the layer below, and I'm gonna go and clone it. And you can see I'm taking away stuff that do not look good, and then I'm gonna clone a little bit of her dress. That's gonna go in and put it all the way here, and then I'm gonna clone that, and I'm gonna clone a little bit. I'm gonna zoom in, and I'm gonna zoom in here. And now more or less it's looking kind of okay, a lot better for me. I'm gonna save the file. And I'm gonna zoom out, and I can see if I have kind of like the right look. And everything is actually non-destructive over here. So I can go back and forth. I can even rebuild kind of like the shirt here. So it takes away the whole area over here, and it doesn't make it so messy. So if I want to rebuild the shirt, I might go back here and rebuild it. So I'm going to go and rebuild the shirt, and then rebuild it over here. And then this one, I'm going to go back here and fix it. So you can see here, I'm going to rebuild the shirt a little bit. Again, sometime I will go, believe it or not, even to a brush, and go into a regular brush and kind of brush around it to create the stuff that I have. So I'm going to zoom out and see what I have. And I have the markup over here, which I don't need anymore. I have the clone, I have the retouch, I have everything all together. I might go to everything with the retouch, and I'm going to make another smart object. So you can make a nesting smart object and create them and go back and forth to the area. You can see it takes a moment. I'm definitely going to save my file right now. And I'm saving. So now I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to go back out here, and then let me look to the stuff that I have here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to hit escape, and then maybe I want to go in and select her and put her on a different kind of background. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to go to my object selection tool, and I'm going to go in here and go in and select the entire thing. And it takes a long time over here, which I don't like it, and hopefully we are not going to crash. So the object selection tool, okay, see here, it's not as bad as I thought. Look at the selection that I got here, absolutely cool. This is a new selection tool, started in 2021, got even better over here. Oh, don't do that, I'm just moving it too much. But now I'm going to go into select and mask. I'm saving. You know what? I'm going to save everything. And I'm going to do select and mask, and this is what I get over here. So basically I have the mask over here, and now you have a new feature here that says refine hair. And then as soon as the refine hair is available, look what I got here. I got kind of a nice area here with showing me the hair that she has, so all the flyaways and everything. It's really cool to look at. And now I'm going to go to regular brush, and the areas that are too transparent, maybe over here, I'm going to go and cover it a little bit. I like these flyaways over here, and I'm going to go back next to her shirt and I don't want it to be transparent over here, so I'm basically going to a brush, and with black I am going to add to it, and you see I'm fixing it and it's look okay. Maybe this area too, so you can go to the areas that you have and fix it. I do like the flyaways over here. I'm gonna go in here now, and I'm gonna go in and look at my properties, and you can see over here that you can see the global refinement and also output settings, and I'm gonna output it to a new layer with a layer mask. And why did I did a new layer with a layer mask? Because I kind of wanted a copy of the other layer that I have. Don't know why I'm moving so much. I think it's my tablet. Okay, don't move. And I'm gonna go back here and moving it all the way back here. So now look at this selection, how cool it is. And if I zoom into it, you can see that I have this selection. I can even go and fix it and everything that I have, and it's all good. And I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. If you don't want to see the glare of the mask over here, you can turn off your object finder. You can also go back here, the object subtract object over here, and you can say auto show overlay, always show overlay, or never show overlay if you don't want to show the overlay. So if I don't want to show the overlay, it's still going to detect my object, but I don't see the overlay. So now I can actually go in to add a new layer below, and I'm going to call it background. And let's see what we want to put in the background if we don't want to have this kind of background over here. Ooh, something really happened over here. Okay, perfect. I turn off the other clone, which is not very good. Okay, I'm gonna go back here, and it's all good. So now I want to go into the background that I have and kind of create another background, but I might go into the other clone, and I'm going to go to these two of them, and I'm going to make that into a smart object. So they are okay together for me, and now I can add a new layer. So let's say we want to go in here, and we're going to have a gradient. And maybe we're going to have a nice kind of clear gradient. So I might go into pastels. These are not the nice pastels that I like. So I'm going to click over here, and I'm going to say legacy gradients. I love the legacy gradients. I like their pastels. I like their other colors. So you can see some other colors that I have. Maybe I'm going to go into the legacy pastels and see the colors that I have. And you see there's different kind of pastels. And I might go back here and click on that and see this, and then go in and put it below. So now kind of I have the area that I have with the selection. Or what I did, I made a big mistake here. And what I did is I went in and I don't have my layers anyway. So I'm gonna go back here and go in here too. No, that's not good. This two has to go. And I'm going to load the selection first, and I'm going to save the selection, because I had two smart objects together. And if I'm going to go and have them because the other one has the clone, I'm going to need to load the selection. And then I'm going to go in here and then go load the selection, and I'm going to create a layer mask now. And why didn't it do it? Okay, you know what? I'm just going to go, oh, I know why. Oh, because it is based on the other layer. So what I'm going to do is I basically have to go in and select it again, and this time I'm going to select subject. So the mistake that I made is I had too many smart objects, and one of them has the clone, and I wanted the clone to be part of this image. So I'm going to do select subject, which is kind of the same, more or less, depending when you're working with it. And it takes a little longer, and let's see what I'm getting over here. I'm going to go back here and do select and mask. And you can see here I have some of the stuff. I'm going to say refine hair. And then I might go back here and clean a little bit this area. And if I go back here, it's all good. This area is good here. And I'm going to go in and make it new layer with the layer mask. So basically I redid whatever I did right now because I wanted to go in to another background and I wanted to see the background. So you have to have a layer there. And then I'm going to go into my legacy. And in the legacy, I do have also the gradient. So I'm going to go and see if I want to do this gradient. And now you can see she's on top of that. This is absolutely non-destructive over here. And you can see that everything is kind of looking kind of cool. If I want to have another background here, I might have this background, which is kind of like a little nicer. And then I am going to zoom in to the top and maybe kind of play a little bit with my masking over here. So I'm going to go back to my mask. And I'm going to go to white so I can click on the letter X. And I can see if I can salvage some of the hair that I kind of took away. So you can see here, that's too much. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to click on the black and I'm just going to go in and take it away. So you can see over here, I basically have back the normal hair. I'm going to zoom and I see her, and now I have the stuff here with everything looking kind of okay. So I'm saving. Again, I can go to the mask over here, and if I don't like the way the hair is looking here, I can go into a brush, and then I can go to white, and then every brush I can go in and rebuild some of the areas over here. So if it's too much and it's too soft over here, you can see I can rebuild the flyaway that I have here, and it's all gonna look kind of cool. So now when I save it, I might want to go to my history panel before we take a little break in a second. And I'm going to say new snapshot. And I'm going to call it after. I didn't even do other snapshot. I don't know why, because I think I forgot. But this is what I wanted to show you. That we started, then we went here, then we went to the healing, then we have healing brush 2, then lighten and darken, and then after. So in between, you can go in and start doing some other stuff and kind of play with it, and you have your retouching over here. So now what I'm going to do, going back to my layers panel, because depending where you're working, sometimes you do it for yourself and sometimes you're going to do it with somebody else. I took the marking away, and maybe I shouldn't take the marking away. I'm going to put the marking all the way here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the gradient fill. I'm going to go in. I don't need to have the copy, or maybe I should have the copy anyway. So I am going to go to the copy and put it on top of that. But I'm going to go to the gradient fill over here. Okay, thanks. I'm gonna go back. I don't want to have that. I'm gonna have the copy over here, because in the copy that I have everything. If I double click on it, you can see that I have all the stuff that I did already there, so it's all kind of good. So now what I wanted to go and do is do a before and after. So I'm gonna go back here and make that into a smart object. And then I'm going to go to my move tool and kind of move the area all the way to the side. And then go to image, reveal all. And then zoom out. And then now I have that over here. And if I go to the markup, I still have the markup over here. So if I'm showing to somebody what I did, they can basically see more or less the area that I did. I can also go back here and double click and go back here to my smart object that I have over here and kind of like extend the canvas a little bit if I want, and then I can go and move it around. Or I can just go back here, and I'm going to go back here to the clone and see all the stuff that I have. So basically everything that I have here is part of the area that I have. So I have the clone, and I have the colors, and I have this one, and I have the original. And now I'm gonna go in and just maybe go back and crop it, and I'm saving. And now I have my before and after over here. So you can see here I have this one, I don't need that. I'm gonna go back here to the copy of the clone. I'm gonna go back here to this area here, and you can see on the layers, and underneath that you do have the clone. So if I don't like something, I can still go in and change. So if I'm gonna go in and change something, let's say I'm going to go in and take away the natural stuff or the Liquify, it's gonna take away. Let's say I'm gonna take away the Liquify, and then all the stuff that I have there, if I saved it, that's gonna go and reflect upon the area that I have. So I do have a smart object here that includes everything, and I'm gonna call that after and save. So we just did something with the clone tool, the healing tool, the spot healing tool, and the neural filters, just to play with the stuff that we have. What if I wanted to create some kind of other stuff to it, and it's part of my retouching stuff that I want to do? So let's say I'm gonna go into this one over here, and I'm gonna go in and do the Liquify again. It's gonna take a moment, and I'm gonna go back to this one. And let's wait to see if I get the good result. So let's say this one is a good result of something that I have. I can go in here and I can say, go back here, and I'm gonna go back here, and I basically can go in and decide that I want to go in and convert artboard from layers if I want, or I want to go in and decide that I can convert that to layers if I want. But I don't want to convert anything to a layer, and I'm going to go into just the retouch copy over here, or maybe I'm going to go back here to this one. And I'm going to select the two of them now, and I'm going to make them into the smart object again. And now just for this one, I'm going to do File and Save As. And I'm going to call it maybe Retouch Fun Version. Because maybe we want to play with something fun. So I went in and I'm saving just for Photoshop file. And the other one that I had, I'm going to close that. And I'm going to go and close this one, the before and after. And I'm going to go File and Open. And I'm going to open Retouch Fun. And let's say bring it here. So now I want to go back here and create something else. It is already a smart filter. So I'm going to call it Girl. And I'm going to go into my neural filters. And now I can decide that I want to do something else from it. I'm going to go back here to this area and I'm going to go in and do a style transfer. And you see it is kind of researching and researching it for me a little bit. And now I decide that I want to make this portrait with a different style. And I'm going to download a different kind of style that you have over here. Because we're doing a portrait retouching, but we also want to do maybe an interesting portrait or something a little bit different. And look what happened over here right now. It took the style of this image and basically created something absolutely different. And I'm going to go back to this one and then see if it's going. It takes a little time to reprocess it. You can change the strength. You can change the detail. You can change the background, the brightness, and the saturation to create something of a style of Van Gogh. So now I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say I do want the style of Van Gogh. But in this case, I want to preserve the colors that I have already. So I got this style that it's really colorful, but it's really preserved the style of the project that I had. It's kind of look good, right? So if I don't, it might look something like that. And now it's going to be a portrait that looks like a Van Gogh. If you don't like it, try the water lilies and see if that's going to work. I highly suggest to you guys, depending where you do the portrait, if you're going to work with in a place and you're going to be a retoucher for like beauty retouching and things like this, absolutely you can do stuff like this because that's kind of like going to change completely the portrait. But if you're going to do it for yourself and you want to put it on social media or you want to put it on your resume and you want to make it a lot of fun, you can decide that you can take the portrait and make it a little bit different. You can go in and make it custom made, so you can even open any stuff on your computer. So I'm going to open stuff on my computer and I'm going to go to an area that I have some of maybe a file that I have, and maybe I have some kind of images. And now I'm going to use this image to create some kind of style transfer. I don't know if it's going to look good or it's yes or no, but I'm trying. And that's something that you want to do when you do some of your retouching. So basically what you want to do is you want to start exploring. And the neural filters are absolutely amazing. They're good for retouching some stuff. They're good even to do some transfer for makeup. And I'll show in a minute what I mean after this one goes into the area that you have. I'm going to use this time, I'm going to go over and help you some of the people raise their hands. And then with this done, we're going to continue talking. So if you're watching the video, I'm a little far away and I'm helping, and I'll be right back to the screen and continue the conversation. And I think it's way too slow. I'm back. I might cancel this one out. It is a little too slow on my machine, so it didn't do that, but it's okay. So we're all good to go. But if I really want to do again, I'm gonna go neural filter. I'm not gonna play around with new systems and everything else. I'm just gonna do something fun, and then I'm gonna go to the style transfer, and I'm just gonna go and do Van Gogh, and that's it. And then we're gonna save that, because I see it took kind of longer than I wanted when I did my own image. Maybe the image was too high resolution. I'm gonna click OK. I'm gonna make it into a smart filter, so you can see I have it here. I can save it. Good to go. Looking great. Absolutely wonderful. So let's look at another thing that's part of retouching. I'm gonna close that. And by the way, I could have saved it also to my cloud document, and then I can upload stuff from a cloud document and start working on my iPad. Not everything is compatible, so things that are not compatible you won't be able to play with. So I'm gonna do File and Open, and let's go back to the file that I gave you, and then I'm gonna go to Neural Filters. And I do have a red eye PSD, and I'm holding on the shift key and clicking on a file named Romy Front PSD. I think it's with a spelling mistake, but it's okay. And this one is not a smart filter, so I'm gonna go first and make it into a smart filter. And I'm gonna zoom out. Again, that could be some kind of retouching, so not kind of retouching, but gives you an idea of something. Maybe you want to make it look a little different. So you're going to go to your neural filter. And in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to go to makeup transfer. Of course, I don't have another image that looks like a lot of makeup in it, but I'm open something that has a lot of reds in it. A red eye PSD. And then I'm going to go in and choose this image that it's going to go in and transfer the makeup to this one. And look what happened. Absolutely, the red lips came in. The dark eye is a little too dark, but I kind of like it. It's kind of emphasize some stuff. You can even copy and put it on the other side, but I'm going to click OK. It is as a smart object over here. So what you can do, you can go to your brush, you can go into black, and basically you can go in, if it's too much, you can take it back to the original eye that I have here, which didn't have so much makeup over there. And I can go also back here and just take it back. Or I can go back to black and bring it back, because I kind of like this dark eye over here. So you can see here, could be part of your retouching. I use makeup transfer. You can have a lot of stuff there for retouching. Sometimes you're going to do handmade retouching, and sometimes you're going to do some kind of a filter to that. So that's kind of like a makeup transfer. I can also go in. I always try to put another neural filter on top of it. Sometimes it's not going to work for me as good, because look what happened. That's kind of like my mask that I have. So if I wanted to go to the smooth skin, it might actually not do a good job over here, because I did have the mask here. But if I don't have the mask, and then I'm gonna go in and do a smooth skin, which is smooth anyway, but if I want to smooth it a little bit more, I can go in and go to filter, neural filter, and I think I just did, and I'm gonna go back here to smooth skin and then smooth it a little bit more. And if I click OK, hopefully this is what I got. And then I can go in here, and you see here kind of like few filters, kind of one on top of each other. Looks okay. Again, I can do my selection, I can change the background. It all can be part of retouching or reconstructing your image. So I'm gonna close all, and let's see if you guys have any questions. I know it's a lot. You do have also a PDF, and if you feel like doing the project that I have there, I'm just going to show you how to do it. We're not going to do the project today, but this is something that you can do it because you have the files and you also have the images and the PDF. But before we finish, let's go into File and Open. And I'm going to go to the other area, and I'm going to go to Puppet Warp. And I'm just going to click on the hairdo. And I'm going to zoom into it. We didn't do anything with it in one of our projects. We didn't have anything that we needed. But let's say you are a photographer and you needed to do some stuff to this portrait. Different kind of things. Maybe change the makeup, maybe change the face, maybe change all kind of other stuff. Maybe even select the area and do a different background. But one of the stuff that you want to do is maybe you want to change some of the I'm going to zoom out. Maybe you want to go and change, because you can see here it is on a layer, so I can change the background already and put something else in it. So I'm going to turn off the layer and I'm going to go to the model. But I want to do something called local movement. So I'm going to filter, convert to smart filter. And I'm going to zoom in. So I want to go in and do a local change or movement to this curl, and maybe change one of these curls and move them a little bit. So what can you do? Usually what people do a lot of time, they copy and paste, they create a layer, they move it around, they create a different layer on top of it, they move it around, and it will do like a layer mask and all kind of stuff. That's all something that you can do at any time. But one of the things that you want to do is you can go into Edit and Puppet Warp. And when you are in Puppet Warp mode, first we're going to look at our option bar over here, like everything. It will tell me the mode is normal. You can do a rigid mode and you can do a distort mode. I usually use normal. Actually, I need to start kind of practicing some other stuff and see how other things are looking for me. But I'm going to go back to the other, and it said density. I have fewer points and I'm going to have more points. I'm going to go in and stay normal. And then you have the expansion of this point, how much they are extended from the object. If you make it 0, it's going to be attached exactly to the hair. If you make it a lot more, it's going to be wider. If you make it a lot less, you're going to go and have something like that. I'm just going to go in and make it like the original. What I do with stuff like this first, you have push pins over here, and really what I want to do is just move this one. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to do it really, really slow because I have a tendency to work fast, and then I'm going to move everything. So I'm going to click on one here, and I'm going to click. And I'm going to click. And I'm going to click. And click. So what I'm doing, I'm kind of anchoring areas that I might move or not move. I'm going to make a decision. And it takes a moment, and just do it slow. I know. Sometimes I do it too fast and I start moving everything. Sometimes I put too many push pins. But I'm going to put one here. I'm actually doing it pretty slow today. I'm really surprised. and go. Oh, and I'm doing that. See, I'm kind of anchoring. Sometime it will give you a message. You cannot put another push pin over there because they're too close to each other. Let me see if it's going to do it because I want to show you the message. But of course it's not going to do it now for me because I wanted it. I can even go back inside here and just do stuff. And now I'm just going to go back here to the nose. But I'm going to go and change the curl. So see what I'm just doing? This is actually, I wanted to do that. And maybe I wanted to go back to this curl and move it a little bit up here. So it's a local change or local movement. And I'm going to zoom in. So it's kind of another way, almost as Liquify, but this one is to the points that you're doing. So I'm going to go back here, and you see what happened if I do that, other thing going to move. So if I don't want other thing to move before moving that, maybe I will anchor these areas. Oh, see, that's the message I wanted to get. Cannot add a new pin because it's too close to the existing pin. Increase the number of available points and use density more point. So I kind of wanted to show you this error message because it didn't want to do it. And now I'm going to go back and move. So you see now the eyebrow is moving and not the forehead. But this one moved. So if I didn't want to move that, I would just anchor that. But I don't care. I'm just going to go and do this one and just move this. See, I just moved the eyebrow here. And then I'm going to move that. And then maybe I don't want to move the areas of the nose, but I just want to make it a little wider. Like this. Not so much, a little wider. And you see the cheek moved. If I didn't want the cheek to move, I had to kind of anchor it. If I like what I did, I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to zoom out. And I'm going to bring back my background here and zoom out to see what I just did. And then you can see this is the local change. You can see the before and after. Before and after. Does that make sense? So I'm going to do the after right now. I can, because also it is puppet warp and it is a smart object, I can double click on it. And I can go and change the stuff here because it didn't look so good. And I moved it. So now I'm going to click on this curl and move it inside. And then click OK. So now you can see that I have a different change before and after. Absolutely cool. I changed a little bit the eyebrows. I changed a little bit her nose. And it is a local change. I didn't duplicate anything to do a before and after. So basically what I am going to do, I am going to leave the after over here. And then I'm going to go to my history panel. And I'm going to make a snapshot. And I'm going to call the snapshot after. A lot of time it's good to duplicate the first one so you don't lose the first one that you have. Or you can go in and turn off some of the stuff that you do. But now I'm going to go back here. And you see here, I do have the after over here. I'm going to do select all and copy. And then I'm going to go back here. And then go back here and do it without and paste. So what I'm pasting is the new one that has the changes. And then I'm going to move that. And then go to image, reveal all. And basically this is what I have. Of course this one does not have the same background, which is fine, but you can see them before and after. Another way that I could have done is basically duplicate the one that has the puppet warp and then deselect one that you have and move it around. because when you have it here, you don't have the before and after. I mean, you just have the after, because I don't have the smart object anymore. And then I'm gonna go in and sample the color and fill the background with the same color, and now you have the before and after kind of next to it. Does that make sense? So you can see this is also part of retouching. So I could have gone to the portrait that we used before and do that. I'm gonna do File Save As. I'm gonna go back here, hairdo, and I'm gonna say after. So you can see that. And you can do that. You have another sample there with an elephant and other stuff here. So you can see here the after. I can also do the after, could duplicate that, and I can have this one on top of each other, and then just turn off the puppet work for this one, and could have gone in and put it over here. So what you have here, which is a little bit better, is basically what you have here is the reverse engineering. One has yes and one has no. And then I can go into the beginning one and just take away, and I have just the new one. Does that make sense? So you have different ways to show the before and after when you're doing the retouching. So let's see if you have any question of the things we covered, because what we did today is actually we covered the healing tools, the spot healing tools, and we covered the clone tool, we covered some neural filters. So we're gonna look at other stuff that we can work with, but before that, because we might run out of time, I want to show you the project that I have for you if you want to go in and start working with it. So this is the retouching project, and I'm gonna double click on the final. And actually this final was before neural filters, but you can see I have two people standing on a different kind of environment. And then they do have a background, and then they have a window over here. But then you have the direction, what to do stuff, and then you have here kind of like if I had the direction to put on top of stuff, what to do to the lips and other stuff here, which it kind of goes away. But what do I have here? I have the climber boy. So if I turn him everything off, I have him, and look what I have hit. I also have here a shadow, a drop shadow or cast shadow. That's him as a cast shadow, but I have the entire climber here, but look what I have over here. I do have hue and saturation. I went in and highlighted some stuff. I did the spot healing. So if I double click on the smart object here, look what I have here. That's my spot healing that I created for this guy here. I do also have the climber head, and if I turn off the mask, I took him away from this area. And then I have a color fill to fill his shirt. And then I have another smart object over here, and this is what I did. I went in and isolated a guy from a background and basically put the head of this guy on top of a different body. And that's what you have over here as a final. So if you want to start doing a project like this, you do have a step-by-step. But what you have here, and I'm going to show you the elements, or as I call it, the assets. What I have over here, and I actually have ones that I did already, the final. So you do have one head over here, and you have another head over here. You do have the guy and the girl, and then you can combine them one on top of each other, and this is the environment, and you can start kind of retouching. When I did this one, I actually didn't use the smart object selection. But now let's say if I open this one, I use it with two selection tools over here. But now you can go back here and say object selection and try just to select her head. and see if that's gonna do just her head and her neck, or without a neck. And you see it kind of takes a moment, but you can have a step-by-step in the PDF. You see it did kind of like a different kind of selection. So now I have to subtract from my selection using the object selection tool and see if it's gonna get just the head. And it didn't. So the way I did it originally, I divided the selection into two sittings. I did one just the front and just one of the back, and just selected the area. So to see that in more detail, you can see here I'm just in the retouching area. I do have project-based retouching, and I talk a little bit about the concept of retouching. And you can see how I retouched it, but I actually retouched it with the older selection tools. And you can see here I isolated the face with two kind of selection, with the pen tool and with the quick mask tool. And then I created a layer mask and moved it on the other area. So you can see here the step-by-step. You have reconstruction, your reconstruction of the shoulder, changing the stuff here and going back to the environment. So this is something good for you to look at if you want to start working with retouching. One more thing that you want to look at also is going to, and I'm going to go into close all and not save because we have few minutes, and if you don't have question, I'm going to show you content aware. So I'm going to go file open, and you can use content aware also for retouching. And you can see here I have 3 images for content aware, and the content aware divide into few versions, and the simple version of content aware is from the fill menu bar. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to first duplicate the layer, and I'm going to call it content 1. And all what I need to do is basically go to your lasso tool and select around the screen. Not a perfect selection, because you want to eliminate the areas that you want to see in front of you, and you want to give it some space about what was before that. Edit, fill, content aware. It will be grayed out if you don't have a selection. Deselect. Of course, you can go on top of it and select it better and better, but now I'm gonna go in and want to select this girl. And that's another kind of content aware, because I want to see a preview. I didn't even duplicate the layer, because the next one that I'll show you has a duplication in there. Edit, and I'm not going to fill, I'm going to go to content aware menu bar. It's a little more advanced. And look what happened already. It shows me that the girl went away, and that's kind of like the view that I have. If I like it, I'm going to leave it like this. If I don't like it, I can go to my brush and eliminate the sample that the machine took in order to do the content aware. And as soon as I do that, you can see things changes in my preview. And I might bring it back if I don't like what I see. So I can go into the preview and move it here and see if I like this kind of elimination. If I do like it, I leave it and click OK. But I just want to show you, if I go into subtract from selection, look what all of a sudden you see here. All of a sudden you are seeing stuff that's not looking good. So you can start playing with it, and now I'm adding to the selection, and I added a little bit too much, so I'm gonna go in and subtract, and now it's not looking so good, and I'm gonna see why, because maybe it is too much over here, and now it may be looking a little bit better, and I might go in and eliminate some stuff. As soon as I have the result that I like, what I have here, I can bring it to a new layer, to a current layer, or I can duplicate my layer. And once I duplicate my layer, I can deselect, and now you can see before and after. If I do see some stuff that don't look good, because I ended up doing it in a different way, I can start working with it by going into the regular content aware, and then eliminate that and deselect, and now I have a good way of working. So that's one way of working with it. I'm gonna duplicate this layer. I know we're almost done. I know some people have to go to another class, so let's take another 5 minutes and then see if we have Q&As, and if not, we'll call it a day. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to select this girl. And I'm using object selection tool, and she is selected perfectly, and it's not really what I want. So I'm going to go to select and modify, and I'm going to expand the selection, and I'm going to expand it with 10 pixels. Now I'm going to go to my content aware move tool. It is in the J gallery. I'm going to make sure that in the option I have move, and I'm going to click and move it and click OK. And now you can see she's out from here and she's back here. I know it's a little fuzzy. You can change it later with the clone tool, with another content aware, but or you can go and change the structure. That might change it a little bit, or maybe change the color. And now you can see that it's looking a little bit different, and deselect. I'm not saving, I don't want to save it, I want to deselect. So if I don't like what I have here, I can actually go and select an area. And I can go to my patch tool. And I'm going to make sure the patch has content aware in it. And I'm going to click and say, do I want to see this kind of grass in there? And maybe I'm going to change the structure, and maybe I'm going to change the color, and maybe I'm going to see if it goes and gives me something a little bit different. I can also say not content aware, just normal, and then I'm going to go back here, and then I am going to go in and just change it, and look at that. I'm deselecting, and now it just changed that to here. And now I'm going to select that, and it's just going to refine it over here. So I can go back here with my patch tool and try to get some kind of nice way with it. And now I changed the stuff that I have, and she moved. Of course, if I wanted to eliminate her completely, I can go in and eliminate her by selecting the whole thing, and then going again to edit and fill, and then click that, and now of course she's gone. So now you can see 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I should have gone, before doing that, I basically should have done something else. I should have gone to this, and go back here, and I should have not eliminate her. I should have gone and show her moving, but that's what the idea is. So basically content aware has two kind of version. There's another one that I call it content aware extend, which is like the move tool. That's what you're going in. You can select an area. Let's say I'm not going to select it, okay? And then you're going to go into content aware move, but instead of moving, or I should have actually duplicate the layer, but I didn't, it's okay. I'm going to go and extend it, and now I'm going to click and extend it. And then once I clicked OK, it will extend it and it's gonna look like it's part of this building. You can play with your structure and make it a little awkward. You can play with the color, and now if you deselect, you kind of expanded it and it looks like it's falling apart. But once again, when you do that, you really want to go in and duplicate your layer. So with that said, let's see. We're going to close it all. I'm not going to save that. I'm going to go back to my PDF and I'm going to go in, and this PDF has 15 pages. And then I'm going to go back here and just show you what you have there. You can work with the retouching, but basically we went with the stem tool, we went with different kind of techniques, and then we did a different kind of before and after. This is the content aware. We went in, mainly we worked on the portrait today, and this is your project-based retouching. So you do have the files and you can do that step by step. And yes, use some other selection tool that I'm not mentioned over here, because that was before 2021 when I assembled it. But you can do any selection tool, and maybe if you want to make it a little more adventurous and more fine, maybe use some neural filters. So I want to thank you for coming, and I hope to see you in one of our other events that we have. I think in few weeks, I think what we have is a class on selecting in Photoshop, or maybe creating presentation with Adobe Spark. Make sure you're checking our schedule at the DL table. Every other week we have some kind of seminars here. They're free of charge, they're wonderful, we're recording it. And thank you guys for coming, and I'll stay here for Q&A after I finish the recording. Thank you guys. We'll see you soon.